requested, which I don't know what it means. Maybe you can clarify. Then there is a request rejected by the control of budget, and there's a final reason there, which says tax issue. So maybe some clarity on those three reasons, because as Onyonka said, some of these things are technical, and most of us might not understand what those mean. So maybe you can explain those three circumstances for voiding. Funds not requested means.
Okay. It has been provided there. Therefore, it's not true that it's only 41 million that we have explained, Chairman.
Senator
Ambua? On 191.
Senator Ambua, then Senator Nyonka, and then Senator Sifuna will go on.
Thank you, Chair. I want the auditors to listen to this, because I'm a bit lost, and I want to be found. Let's begin with the CEC finance. You said how many transactions were voided? You said 700 and something.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, Chair. But I was corrected by Senator to be 604, Mr. Nyonka.
Okay, yeah. So you are corrected. Okay, fine. So let's go back to 604. So those are transactions that were voided. The response from management picks only 6 issues. Let's go back a bit. The amount in question is 232 million, right? That's the amount in question. 358,841. That's the amount in question in regards to the voided transactions. Now, 604 transactions voided, amounting to 232 million. Now, the response from management picks only 6 issues. And out of those 6 issues, you have justified transactions for 232 million 80,067 and 70 cents. Yani out of 6 transactions, you have almost completely responded to all the transactions that have been voided. And so I'm wondering, of the other 590 voided transactions, what were they? What was the cost of that transaction?
Chair, let me take through the Senator Ambua. If you check on Annexure 1, it has every voided. Therefore, we were not to explain for every voided transaction. Those voided, they have been captured in the Annexure 1. All the 604, the voided transactions, they are attached there. Whole page 191, Mr. Chairman. That's where you can find this answer. Therefore, we have answered every part of that question, Mr. Chair, as it were.
Senator Onyonka.
Thank you. Governor, I want to ask you a question, but it's a bit technical. You can ask your finance team to help you. If, when you're doing the entry for procurement, it runs through the system and goes through IFMIS, and the IFMIS system then shows you who has done which work and who has been approved to be paid and how much they'll be paid, isn't it? Mm-hmm. If today I was to ask the Auditor General to get a printout of what has been done on the IFMIS system, particularly with the records which exist within the central bank, because that is how then you end up, you do e-procurement and then you e-pay. And because Governor, you may not know this, I want to ask your senior officers of finance, are they sure that if we run that printout which had been approved by the control of budget for the payments to be done, it will be the same companies that you paid after you voided the payments?
But before you respond, Senator Sifuna, you could go on record.
Thank you, Chair. Governor, good afternoon, everyone. Apologies, I came late. My name is Edwin Sifuna, Senator of Nairobi and a member of this committee.
Okay, Governor, you may proceed.
Chair, I want to agree with Senator Onyonka that there is a tendency where people will do a requisition for certain items and pay other companies. In my administration, for sure, any transaction must be against the procurement entity and the contractors and companies who won the tenders. I've tried, unless anything else happens, which is unavoidable, then when the auditors, they raise it, that's the time I can be able to say, yes, this passed. But for sure, any person who has done work has to be paid. Not the monkey business where you, Onyonka, you have built this house, then Arati is paid for it. It cannot happen.
Senator Onyonka.
And Governor, that means that you have actually no problem if we can have the Auditor General pool and ask for those two audits. Who was approved to be paid, and after the voiding of the transactions, we also check with who was paid during that financial. AOG, can you do that?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. When we do the subsequent reviews, we can able to link up in terms of the request and also what is being paid. But I think in terms of the voided transaction, one of the reasons which has been provided is request rejected by control of budgets. So it's a number of, you see it runs.
Point of order, Chair. Could you move your speakerphone next to you?
No, I'm saying the annex that has been provided has provided a clarification as to why the reasons of the voided transactions has arisen. But you can see from that annex, one of the issues which cut across is about requests rejected by the control of budgets. So the question is, what is these reasons that has prompted the control of budget to reject? And yet the payment has already been raised.
That is the question I wanted to ask, because there are actually three reasons that are stated in the entirety of that document. Under the column reason for reversal, Governor, the problem we have in this committee is that not all of us are very well versed with these systems and those reasons. You've given three reasons. The first one is funds not requested, which I don't know what it means. Maybe you can clarify. Then there is a request rejected by the control of budget, and there's a final reason there which says tax issue. So maybe some clarity on those three reasons, because as Onyonka said, some of these things are technical and most of us might not understand what those mean. So maybe you can explain those three circumstances for voiding. Funds not requested means.
Okay. Chair, Governor, let me ask Chacha.
Chair, if I may start with the auditor issue on reasons that may make the control of budget withdraw or not approve a request. There are quite a number, Chair. One of them is if there is the request you put before the controller has not sufficient support document, or there are quite a reports that we also print from the IB. If those reports communicate, there is one item missing in that request, or there is an item in the request whose tax obligations have not been captured. Chair, in considering that, at that time we had presented that request, we were almost closing a financial year. So when he raised those issues, we could not be able to respond. That's why we dropped that request. However,
Governor, I think there is no need to go into too many stories. When I see a column says the reason for reversal is funds not requested, what does that mean? In layman's terms, what does that mean?
Chair, it means the transactions were processed up to the end level, the IB level, but were not requested from the controller. We did not send a request for withdrawal of those funds.
So why would the controller be approving those payments if you have not requested?
The controller only approves when we request, so we did not request, Chair.
Why don't you request? Why do you process and not request?
See, that's the reason why I asked initially whether you agree with the report of the Auditor General or you disagree with it. Because the Auditor General has said it as a statement of fact that they were voided after the approval of the Controller of Budget. That's where the problem is, and that's why it's an audit query. And Auditor General, is that the position?
Sure, that's the position, because when we run the system, we run with the IFMI system, it means the transaction has really moved to the payment level. And that's why from our paragraph, we are saying from the IFMI's information system. And that's where now you can, and the system generates, it will say this transaction has been voided. And now the question is, what's the reason of voiding these transactions?
Chair, if we progress that conversation with the gentleman there, sorry I came in when he had already introduced himself. Maybe we can get some clarity. So what would be the rationale of you advancing a payment up to that point, then you say you don't request for the payment from the COB? What explanation would there be?
Chair, maybe we need to understand at what point do we make a request at the county level?
Yes.
That is where we need to get it from. We make a request when we have processed all the transactions we want, you have prioritized up to the IB level, internet banking.
Yes.
That is when you run now the IB report, you present with other documents to the control of budget for approval. Where you have processed these documents, like the unrequested funds, you process them to IB level, but you don't provide the request to the controller. They will still be hanging in that phase of internet banking.
Chacha?
Yes, sir.
Chair. So
we are not going to get into the details of making the sausage. The auditor was with you for 3 months. Look at the auditor's report. The auditor's report says, information provided indicate that the controller of budget had approved payment of the voided transactions. That is the audit query. All those things you're saying are transactional issues that we are not interested in.
Chair,
that's why this matter is before the Senate, that you voided transactions that had been approved by the control of budget. That's the problem.
Chair, for the sake of the laymen here who have never, handled this system, what does the approval of the control of budget look like? What is the document that the Auditor General sees?
The control of budget is present. Controller, you could help us here.
Thank you, Chair. Now, the control of budget approval is usually a single one-pager document that authorizes the credit into the county operational funds.
So is that document before us? Because the auditor says they saw that and it is a point of dispute. Is that document before us?
The auditor probably can confirm this.
Auditor, when you say information provided, what do you...
Yeah, sure. We may not be having, but when we raised at the management letter, and when we had even at the process of the exit meeting and entry meetings, we are able to give them the details. And for us to quote that this has been approved, as he said, there is a single approval. So that single approval has been there, and we can able to share once we get it.
Who was present at your inception meeting for this audit?
The CEC Finance was there.
And who was present at the exit, the final meeting?
The CEC and the team were also there, Finance.
So CEC, you saw this thing, because at inception, you got a schedule of documents required. At exit, you got a management letter, you probably have a draft report. Why are you wasting the time of the Senate?
Chair, I'm sorry, I'm not wasting the time of the Senate. We have had several meetings with the director, auditor, and I have supplied those documents and explaining him at the level of movement of requisition. The documents have been supplied to the auditor, and he can confirm the same.
Senator Go.
Chair, so that to make progress, I request, Chair, that you give direction. One, you ask Chair Chacha, is it called Chacha? Yes. To stop answering his own questions or giving us theories and respond to the real issues. The issue at hand here is the Auditor General says that the voiding was done after the approval by the control of budget. Now, those are things about internet banking, though we're not interested in that. Let's deal with the issues here. How are you saying that request was not made and yet approvals have already been given for you to spend to pay certain people? Were those people paid? Were they not paid? And it's just as simple as that, Chair.
Chair. Allow me to say this, following up on...
maybe you might benefit from the question by Senator Sifuna and Senator Nyonka. Just allow them to...
Yeah, so, Chair, for me, really, because the controversy is at which point the voiding happened, that document by the controller of budget is the, as they say in the street, musema kweli. And in the absence of that document, it might be very difficult for us to know who's telling the truth and who's not. So since the Auditor General has indicated that they can provide that document to us, I think we should reserve judgment until we see that document, in my view.
Senator Nyonka?
Absolutely, Chair. I support. I would hope that the control of budget, other than, I mean, the OAG, other than just getting the IFMIS audit report that is showing who had been approved for the payment to be made, I would also like you to show when they made the application after that who was paid. Because that then gives you whether people who had worked 6 years ago, 3 years or 3 months are being paid, and the ones who are supposed to be paid were not. The issue we are dealing with, Governor, is not really a matter that you don't understand. We have a problem, and it's not Kisii County only. I just want to say that we have reached a stage where very many individuals who have either worked with the county government currently or even before, and it's not Kisii, it could be Nyamira, it could be Homa Bay, they are all saying that once everything has been prepared, the invoices are prepared, the thing runs through up to the IFMI system, it goes to the control of budget, that is where the changes as to who is supposed to be paid are made. So as a result, like this case, the control of budget said we have approved pay these individuals. And the implication is that somebody from your office, and from that audit, we will know who it was, went then and said, no, don't pay these individuals. Now you can void the payments and then get somebody else to be paid. That is what we are trying to cure.
Thank you, Senator. Governor?
Chair,
maybe
I would also want
Governor, National Treasury is here. They might also